How we doing today, neighbors? Ian with E-Trailer here, and today we're going to be installing a Hellwig front sway bar on our 2024 Ford E-Series Cutaway. That is going to be the 1 3/8 inch bar on this one today. Let's go over a few features and see if this is going to be the right sway bar for you. So before we get into the install, let's take a look at the sway bar installed on the bottom of our E Cutaway here. We are going to be utilizing some of the factory hardware, so as we take the factory bar off, please do hang on to any hardware we take loose. I will point out what we're replacing and what we're not. It is also going to use those factory end links, so we're not going to be taking those loose at all, other than this top bolt and nut here. So another thing to note about the bar, yes, it is thicker than the factory sway bar that we had on there, but we do have a different finish on that as well. It's got this kind of gray hammer tone finish, and the idea behind all the cratering in there is to trap some of the grease that we're going to be putting in these bushings, helping keep the bar nice and lubricated while it moves around, and just helping keep the bushings good and sturdy during the lifetime of that sway bar. Now, before we get into the install, again, I am going to walk you through the entire process of replacing or adding on the sway bar on the front of your E-Series Cutaway. Lifting a larger motorhome like this can be extremely difficult and potentially dangerous if you don't have the right equipment. All of this installation can be done from the ground, though. You don't have to have the vehicle in the air. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned again that we are going to be on a lift just for video purposes, but all of this can be done from the ground. Now, if you happen to watch the video and think to yourself, I don't want to try to tackle this, or I don't have the time or space, please do check out our dealer locator on the website. We'd be happy to help you find a trained professional in your area that can get this installed for you. But for all those DIYers, let's go ahead and hop into it. We're going to start by removing the factory sway bar off the front of the vehicle. You're going to need an 18mm deep socket and then a 3/4 open-end box wrench. So we're going to hold off on taking these brackets off for now. We're going to start at the end links where they attach to our control arms here. So that's going to be that 18mm deep well on the outside, and then use the 3/4 open-end box wrench to hold the inside. It is slotted to be able to hold on that wrench. So we're going to start with that top of the link. We don't need to take the bottom off because we are going to be just replacing the bar and then the bushings that I showed you in the middle there. One thing I did want to note while we're taking this off is that anything I do on the one side, we will be duplicating over on the passenger side. Since I'm showing it on the driver's side, I just wanted to make sure it was clear that the procedure should be the same on the other side regardless, and if anything changes, I'll make sure that's noted. We can take both of our links loose at the top here. Now we'll come to the bushings on the sway bar and get those loosened up for removal. Do hang on to any hardware we take off, because we'll need to use it to put the other one back up for most of it. Now on the back side of these hangers, we're going to find there's a 15mm bolt that we'll need to remove. As we're taking these last couple ones loose, you'll just want to make sure you do have good support on the bar. And once we've got the bar loose, we'll pull that out and set it aside. While we've got that factory bar down, I wanted to set both of them side by side and kind of take a look at how much we're really gaining out of this bar. You can see we've got quite a bit more thickness compared to that factory bar, so that's really going to give us that good rigidity we're looking for. Now the kit's going to come with some lubricant that we're going to be putting inside of the bushings here. One thing I would suggest once you've got that tube out is to give it a good massage just to make sure all of the lubricant is properly mixed up and not separated. Then we can tear off the cap, take our bushing here, squeeze a good liberal amount inside the bushing, and evenly spread that. Now we can remove the mount, take some lubricant from the inside, or if we need to apply a little more from the container, we can do that. We'll hit this outside edge on the inside that's going to be resting inside of the bracket. So lubricate that, and then the inside of each bushing. Now both of these we can go ahead and get onto the sway bar just in the rough area that we're thinking they're going to be, and you can always hold the sway bar up to do that. But I wanted to talk about the holes that are on it. That 15 millimeter bolt that was towards the rear of the vehicle is going to go in that smaller one, whereas our 18 millimeter is going to go in the larger one here. To install the bushings, we'll just take those, slide it over the bar. We do want to go on this outside bend, and then we'll take our bracket, make sure that the smaller holes are oriented towards the rear of the sway bar, and then we do have an additional bracket that's going to live on top of that. So just have that ready for when we go up into place. So before we put the sway bar into place and start to lift that up, I wanted to address the hardware. We are going to get some blue Loctite. So the larger 18 millimeter bolts we are going to reuse. We'll just put a little dab of that blue Loctite on those. And then for the 15 millimeter bolts, we're going to be replacing those. So just set the ones out of the frame there out of the way. And we'll take the new hardware, which is going to be that bolt and then the flat washer, and we're going to prep those with some blue Loctite as well. Now with an extra pair of hands, I got Bruce here helping me. We're going to set that other bracket on top, run our 18 millimeter bolt through, making sure we've got the edges of the sway bar up over the links there. And just by hand, we're going to start that 18 millimeter. And we'll do the same thing with that rear bolt, lifting that into place. Just want to make sure we leave that front one loose to where we can adjust everything as we need to. Now we are going to leave the bushings loose up front. That way we can get both of those end links in place, and we can thread back on the nut on the outside of those. And we do want to make sure that the slots on the inside of that stud are pointed somewhere that we can grab them with that 3/4 wrench. One thing I wanted to mention while we're talking about hardware and orientation, that bolt that we replaced that was a 15 millimeter head is a 17 millimeter head now, so just wanted to make sure that was mentioned. Now we can come back with our socket and wrench, getting everything tightened up. We'll start with the bushings in the center and then get our end links tightened up. Now we'll come back through with a torque wrench and torque all those to the manufacturer specification. If you do not own a torque wrench, you can pick one up along with your order of your sway bar from us, or head down to that local parts store and they should be able to rent one out for you. And with all those torqued, that's going to do for the installation and look at of the Hellwig front sway bar on our 2024 Ford E-Series Cutaway. My name's Ian with E-Trailer, and I appreciate you watching.